the reason why I want to talk about this, man, is because firstly, I got a comment from one of y'all. In fact, if my YouTube channel wasn't called Project Dream to Achieve It, I probably would have named my channel their channel name, which is Cake is Yummy, okay? Because cake is yummy. But jokes aside, man, they asked, you know, hey Josh, did you ever have any doubts, man? Was there anything that crept in your heart that made you think that maybe Islam isn't the truth? And there definitely was, man. There was certain things that really made me question, do I really want to be a Muslim? And another reason, man, is because I want to encourage you that even if you don't have this doubt that I'm about to share with you, you may have other doubts, other things crept in your heart, and you haven't addressed them. So this is an encouragement to both Muslims and non-Muslims alike to go ahead and seek knowledge, to use critical thinking, and not just become, you know, like a parrot, right? Or something that just regurgitates the information without actually thinking about it, right? Instead of being a parakeet, use your mind that Allah has given you, you know? So hopefully we're going to be as accurate with this doubt as I am with this arrow. Bismillah. Woo! Money, baby. Alright, bro, I'm sorry. I just had to show you that. That is for real money, son. Allah Mubarak. Alright, man. Now, if you haven't figured it out already, the doubt that entered my heart, man, was when I heard that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ married Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha at 9 years old. When I first heard that, man, that shook my heart to its core, man, and almost made me totally leave Islam almost on the spot. Now, guys, I can't speak on behalf of those who grew up and were raised in the East, right? But as far as I'm concerned, being raised in the West, being raised as an American, when you hear that a grown man, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 and above, is having relations with a minor, right? Someone who's under the age of 18, especially someone who is, you know, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, subhanAllah, when you hear that, you automatically think that person's a child molester, man. They're a pedophile. And when I heard that about the Prophet ﷺ, I didn't know what to do. So guys, I would like to discuss with you the talking points and the points that I had to come to a conclusion about to actually give me solace in my heart regarding this matter, man. We're not going to talk about Kitab and Sunnah just because I know there's going to be non-Muslims who watch this video, right? And you guys aren't going to accept what Kitab and Sunnah says, what the Quran says, and what Hadith says. So we're going to address this from a logical, rational standpoint. And the first thing that I like to ask myself and ask you is, what is like a legitimate age for people to have sex? Now, that's my first question. What do you think is the right age for people to have sex? And you know, when you ask people this question, especially here in the West, they say 18, man. 18 is the proper age for people to start having responsible sex, right? And some other people say, Allahu Akbar, subhanAllah. Other people say, no, 16. No, other people say 21. Other people say parental consent. So we have to ask ourselves, man, a couple questions. Number one is, well, who's right? You say 16, you say 21. Do we just average that out, say 18 in the middle? Or is there another way to actually, you know, use some type of litmus test, right? Something that we can all come in agreement to that can't be argued, so that we can figure out what the truth is. And number two is, when you say 18 years old, my question to you is, okay, you say 18 years old or 19 years old or 20 years old, whatever age, right? That's the age when you should start having sex and it should be legal for you to have sex, right? Well, my question to you is, does that mean when you turn 18 that you're automatically mature, that you're responsible? Because when you have sex, sex leads to pregnancies. Pregnancies become, now you're a parent. And if we were actually honest with ourselves, unbiased, most 18-year-olds, most 20-year-olds, most 25-year-olds, they're not ready for marriage. They're not ready for, rather, not marriage, but parenthood, right? They themselves are still kids mentally. They're still kids. They need these safe zones and these, you know, because we're so weak and soft these days. So the point is that how can you say that 18 or 19 or 20 is a legitimate age to start having sex when we know for a fact that most 18-year-olds are not ready for parenthood? The second point, man, is going back to the first point, which is how do we determine who's right and who's wrong? So when Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, may Allah be pleased with her, when she consummated the marriage with the Prophet ﷺ, she was 9 years old. And again, you might think, how could someone do that? Well, going back to who's right and who's wrong, 18, 16, 21, 12, etc., etc., you see Islam says, okay, this is where we're going to draw the line. When you reach puberty, right? When Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, had her menses, that was an indicator that her body is now ready for pregnancy, right? To bear children. And to me, that is a defining line that cannot be argued, right? You could say 18, 16, 12, but what are you basing that on, right? If we're basing that on maturity, well, we've already established that people who are 18, 21, dude, there are literally 14, 15, and 60-year-olds who are immature. So age doesn't have anything to do with immaturity. Maturity. It has some things to do, but it's not 101% clear cut. As soon as you hit this age, you're going to be mature, right? So going back to the first point, man, is how do we determine what is right and what is wrong? Well, Islam says we base it on menses. Sorry for the weird cut, guys. The battery died yesterday, and I really wish that it didn't, because it is currently 32 degrees outside. We're officially 0 degrees Celsius, bro. But alhamdulillah, it is what it is at this point. Now, where we're at today is the Nashville Public Library. And the reason why I brought you to this library is for a number of reasons. And it's for point number 2, right? Another thing that you have to think about with regards to the marriage of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and Aisha. And that is that Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was a scholar, dude. And not just any scholar, but one of the greatest scholars that Islam ever had. And that's why I feel like the library is so relevant to the second point, man, because, dude, you get so much knowledge from the library. And now the reason why I bring up the point that she was a scholar, radiallahu ta'ala anha, may Allah be pleased with her, is because another thing that you can do by going to the library is you can read about child abuse, molestation, childhood trauma, etc., etc. And we know that when people are molested at a young age, when they are abused emotionally, sexually, physically, emotionally, 9 times out of 10, man, it sends them down a trajectory of self-sabotage, self-destruction, drugs, alcohol, etc., etc. Many times, they're not able to live a normal life, let alone a productive life, let alone become a scholar like the world has never seen. Many of the things that we can learn from the library is how predators work, their behavior, how they think, right? You can actually learn about someone who actually victimizes and basically takes advantage of young children, right? We can look into the psychology of a predator, of a molester, and figure out their mentality as well, right? And part of that is why I'm bringing that up is because if someone is a predator, right? They molest children, wa'alaikum billah. 9 times out of 10, man, they're not going to just molest one child. They're not just gonna victimize one child. They're not just gonna take advantage of one child. But if they have the opportunity to take advantage of many children, know for sure that's what they're gonna do. You can also find in the library countless examples of people who we would consider in today's standards to be minors, to be underage, yet and still they were the commanders and generals of armies. Now the reason why I was bringing up, the argument and the fact of you can actually research the behavior, the mentality, the mindset of pedophiles and predators and molesters is because let's think about this for a moment. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, whether you believe or not, many people believe he's a messenger of Allah. He's a messenger of the creator of the heavens and the earth, right? Now, at the time of his conquest of Mecca, he had approximately over 10,000 Sahaba, right? 10,000 people under his command. Now let me ask you a question. If he was a pedophile, billah, if he was a molester, billah, do you not think that he would have access to more children, more young minors than just Aisha, if he was truly someone that you say was a pedophile or molester? Think about that for a second, man. While you're thinking about that, let's head to point number 3. Alright guys, here we are at the Parthenon. Now, the reason why I brought you to the Parthenon, unfortunately I can't show you because it's inside, but I brought you because of what this represents and what this has, man. And that is Athena, right? Athena is supposedly the goddess of war, according to Greek mythology, right? Which you can actually find within this Parthenon. Now, the reason why I bring that to your attention is because the Prophet Muhammad, that was his entire mission, was to eradicate and to free the human being from the slavery of shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that message came an incredible number of enemies to the Prophet ﷺ. Now you might be saying to yourself, okay Josh, that's true, but what does it have to do with the Prophet's marriage to Aisha radiallahu anha? Well, I say it has a lot to do with it, and that's because of those enemies, man. Those enemies were trying to formulate any way that they possibly could to discredit the Prophet ﷺ, his message, his character, his person, right? They said he was crazy, maybe he was Majnun, he was a poet, right? He was a madman. He was splitting families, son against son, or son against father, brother against brother, etc., right? They tried killing the Prophet ﷺ. Many times they tried to assassinate the Prophet ﷺ and did whatever they could to discredit his message. And again, you might be saying, okay, what does that have to do with the Prophet's marriage? And I go, well, if they stopped at nothing to discredit the Prophet ﷺ, why did they not bring up the marriage of Aisha? Why was that never a topic that they say, oh, look at your prophet, look at your messenger, look at your supposed messenger of God, of Allah Azza wa Jal. He has a minor as his wife. How come that was never brought up? So I think that's a very interesting fact that his enemies had nothing to say about it. And thinking back to the library, right? Another thing that we can think about and that we can look into history is cult leaders, right? And I'm not saying Islam is a cult, but I'm saying that when you have a spiritual leader, right? You have someone who is spiritual and they come into power. We have many different examples, like Jonestown and other different things, man, where a person who claims to be God or claims to be a messenger of God, right? They start attracting followers and supporters, die-hard people who are willing to put their life on the line. And you see that unfortunately those people take advantage of their followers for their own sexual desires, man. You hear about it, how they were sleeping with the supporters, right? Their wives, right? You have one of their male supporters was married, and the religious leader slept with his wife, slept with his daughter, slept with his sister, right? And unfortunately, that's just what we see time and time again. However, and all praises for Allah, we did not see that with the Prophet ﷺ. Now, before you say, hey Josh, you made a mistake, bro, you messed up. The Prophet ﷺ did sleep with other women. Well, you can't really compare someone's marriage to someone sleeping with all their followers, especially the wives of their followers. You can't really compare the two, dude, because what you're referring to were actual legitimate wives of the Prophet, ﷺ, al-Mu'minin, the mothers of the believers, who weren't underage, according to you, that were widows, were divorced, were older women, radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. So you really can't compare the two. With that being said, man, those are just a few examples, right? Just a few points. And there'd be many more, but alhamdulillah, just a few points that helped me develop concrete solace in my heart, and all praises for Allah, regarding this issue. So if you're a new Muslim, or you're considering Islam, but you've had this doubt in your heart, you don't know how to handle it, you don't know how to think about it, perhaps, and I ask Allah to give you solace, to give you certainty in your religion, to remove this from your heart, this doubt, because it's an unwarranted doubt. It looks like something legit on the surface, but the more that you think about it, when you critically think and you break it down, it's actually pretty easy to come to the conclusion that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was not an evil man, ﷺ, and that his marriage to Aisha radiallahu anha was legit, for many different reasons. So guys, that's the video. If you got value from today's video, drop your boy a like down below. I can barely snap, my fingers broken, my hands are so cold. But if you could, please drop a like down below because it truly does help the channel. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell because I'm dropping 2 new videos every single week, every Monday and every Thursday, plus 2 live streams every week, and you don't want to miss them, inshallah. Plus, again, if you get value, man, if the video helped you, if the channel helps you take your life to that next level, take your spirituality and your deen to that next level, your marriage to the next level, etc., then be sure to donate down below. We have all types of links in the description. PayPal, Patreon, GoFundMe. It's all there, man. I would appreciate it. Jazakallah khairan, barakallahu feekum as always. Stop stressing yesterday. Stop fearing and worrying about tomorrow. Make today great, guys. And I'll see you in that next one.